Better than a day-old chicken sandwich at a fast food place, folks. It's a more civilized age.
Well, that's a bold statement to be making, considering I literally just consumed a day-old chicken sandwich from McDonald's for breakfast. Yeah, that's a bold statement. I'll be able to judge which is better by the time we get to the end of this.
Ryan turns on his camera, and what I see is this. I see this hamburger that's you have to have two hands on, and then he goes, and this big old, it's like a Pac-Man bite. Takes out of it. I mean, just chaunt. And I thought it was a fresh new, maybe he just ordered this from, waiter or whatever, and it came in. He's so hungry. Or Uber Eats, since he's a big Mark Hamill fan.
Huge fan.
I'm telling you. But no, it's a day-old chicken sandwich. Must be good, man.
I mean, it was good. I threw the microwave, heated it up a little bit. No problem. Smashed it. It's 9 o'clock here. It's 9 o'clock here, and I just ate a day-old spicy McChicken with a Diet Coke. So
there you go. All right, folks. Hey, it's Ryan Kendall from RK Outpost once again. Luke from the Scoundrels Cantina. Luke, so good to have you back as well, too, brother.
Hello there. Well, I'm glad to be back as well, and I'm really excited about this topic, honestly.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. And by the way, folks, I actually was I got to guest host on Scandals Cantina. I believe that was last week, Luke, or 2 weeks ago?
I think it was last week.
It was last week.
Friday,
yeah, last week. So you need to go to Scandals Cantina and check that out. There's a great conversation.
A lot of people enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Although there were a lot of dislikes because it was a quote unquote controversial topic regarding Gina and stuff like that. But
yes, of course. I know Ryan stays away from controversy like that, but I
typically just like to talk about positive things in fandom. That's basically what I stick to on my channel. So
well, speaking of positivity, that's what this was all about, a more civilized age, folks, where people with all different viewpoints can come together and talk and enjoy about the expanded universe. Our topic today is the Star Wars expanded universe vehicles. We've talked a lot about the stories, about the characters, about the world. And one of the things that another very big creative thing that they have done is expand the universe as it goes to vehicles, ships, vessels, tanks, whatnot. This is a topic I've had on the back burner for a long time. Anyone going to the expandeduniverse.com knows that our tournament that starts as of when this video posts, it starts today, where you can go online and vote. You can download the PDF as well, pick your winners, and vote for the best EU vehicle. And we're going to be talking about tons of little EU vehicles here and things that we like. I'll be saying a lot of things I've said before on my video from last week on the channel, expandeduniverse.com, but there's just so much to talk about. And even when I suggested the topic, something a little bit different, we kind of sat around, well, can we talk about vehicles for that long? And I think for like 3 or 4 hours, that's all we did was chat about vehicles. It wasn't with these two guys, but I didn't realize what an expansive project, what a broad subject this was. It's something that doesn't get talked about as much. We basically talk about a vehicle associated with the character and mainly focus on the character and the story. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a lot of creative vehicles in the expanded universe. Vehicles have been used in video games, board games, miniature games. They've taken model miniatures from the expanded universe. They've taken stuff from the expanded universe and put it into toys as well. There's a few of these have been made into full scale, the 5-inch, 4.5-inch figure toys. And they've also been micro machines. I just recently came across a cache of my old micro machines and realized they made expanded universe ones. I totally forgotten about that. That's why I had to make a last minute post on the website on collecting the galaxy, because I was like, oh, I forgot they also did the micro machine. Did any of y'all have the micro machine expanded universe vehicles?
No, I was never able to get my hands on those. And that's one thing that I feel like I missed out a little bit on the wave, just because I'm a little bit younger, when a lot of these things were coming out in the 90s. you know, and there was so much focused on the board games and on the West End stuff and all of that. They did start coming out with these really cool figures, and that is something I feel like I've missed out on because now they're just super expensive to find if you really want to collect those things.
Yeah, that's sad because hit the wrong button there. That's sad because one of the great things about was collecting that. I actually have my hands on Prince Zizor's Star Viper. I actually have that toy. I actually have the Outrider. I used to collect all those toys back in the day. It almost broke the bank for me. I had to stop shortly after I got all of Shadows of the Empire. I started on the next series. I can't remember what that was, and then had to stop because it was just getting too expensive. But the Micro Machines I did buy because they came in a book form. You'd open up the book, and then there'd be all the little toys from the book. And this is a smart thing because I think and Fantasy Flight has done this a lot too. They've taken ships and stuff and talked about them, brought them into their role-playing world as well from the expanded universe. There's so many ships and vehicles that we could just be talking about for days. I mean, you look at probably one of the most popular ships, the Outrider, which of course was part of the big Shadows of the Empire campaign, but also got brought into the movies in episode 3. You know, I mean, so it came from the expanded universe.
So yeah, in 4, yeah,
yeah,
precisely. Yeah.
It's part of Disney canon now. So thanks, George, for putting that in the special edition. We all thought we wanted it then.
The interesting part is that almost everything in canon, in official Disney canon, from the vehicles, everything is from the EU. Every single one of them, if I'm not mistaken.
A lot of them are, or at the very least, inspired by. You know,
except the sequel stuff. True.
Yeah. Now, because they took a look at so many of these things that people had already created in George's world, and George kind of looked at, wow, this is cool, and you take these things out of there, and that's. But right. Of course, you know, no, EU had nothing to do with anything. No one cared about it. George never talked about it at all. He never looked at anything. Just used a bunch of ideas from it.
Well, the Disney narrative that George hated the EU, it's a load of crap.
Right. And R2-D2 is now getting canceled for putting Beep Bop Boop as his gender there.
Really?
It's insane. It's insane. I mean, he's just a little blue droid. Y'all leave him alone.
You know what I think is offensive is that I never heard Luke ask what R2-D2's preferred pronouns were, but he just called him a he. I think that's, you know, rather offensive. We should probably slap a label on those Disney Plus Star Wars movies now.
And he did a lot. And you think about it, Han Solo did a lot of droid splaining to C-3PO. This is really, really odd. I mean, and who knows, does Han talk like that to one of Lando's droid girlfriends? I don't know. So let's go ahead. And,
this is really Solo territory here.
Yeah. Now, I'll be honest. The weak spot for me is video games. I do not play video games that much, but even when I did, they weren't Star Wars related. That shocks a lot of people. I guess I kept my video games and my love of Star Wars separate there. Every once in a while, I'd play a video game that was Star Wars themed that I like. My favorite one, and still today, because I haven't played anything newer, I guess, but is Rogue Squadron from N64. I love that game. It was just awesome to fly in different vehicles. But what shocked me is that you could unlock a secret level, and this is really cool, from Dark Empire, where you were the V-Wing airspeeders going up against the World Devastators.
Yeah.
Really? And when I unlocked that level, my brain just kind of blew out the back of my head. I was like, oh my gosh, I knew exactly what I was doing here. I was like, I'm playing Dark Empire, which we hadn't seen that before. We hadn't seen a video version, and it was a fun level too because the V-Wing handled differently than any other vehicle in the game.
It was a hard level, if I remember right.
It was a very hard level because you had to fight the were they TIE Defenders?
The
broad one with the kind of cut in. You know,
it's got three prong. It's got like
it had a rectangular solar panel with a box cut out of the center of it.
That one, so it basically looks like a TIE bomber with a rectangle, so it's kind of pointy. That's the TIE Advance. That's the TIE Advance, I believe.
I think that's what you were fighting. But the TIE fighters were different, and the World Devastators, and you're fighting in a V-Wing, and then you unlock the V-Wing for other missions too. And it was like, this is excellent, and I was so excited. That's why things like the V-wing, and if you put, I'm a sucker for this. If you put a letter and then in front of any word called wing, I'm gonna love it, because I thought the E-wing was really cool back when it was around in the early Republic days. They didn't go far after Bantam. I think those E-wings disappeared. Are they mentioned in the Del Rey era, E-wings?
I remember them for that series that you absolutely love that almost no one else likes. When they brought in E-wings for what is it? Forget the name of the trilogy. The one that you love.
The Jedi Academy trilogy.
Wait, was it Jedi Academy? No, it was.
No, which one? Black Fleet Crisis.
Yes, Black Fleet.
Black Fleet Crisis had the K-wing bomber.
K-wing, that's right.
The K-wing bomber I thought was excellent, and when I finally got to see a picture of it in the
it's like a gunship, huge thing.
I love the K-wing even more. Now I didn't realize this, but someone told me it's a video game. It's in a video game now, right?
It is. You can actually play it in Star Wars Battlefront 2 from 2005. And the Bespin level, if I'm not mistaken. It's awesome. It's like a huge gunship with about 5 seats, gunner position, and everything. It's awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, I didn't know it was so popular. I saw Eckert's Ladder do something on it a long time ago, and I was like, why is he talking about a K-wing? I said, that's one of my vehicles, but and that's when I realized, oh wait, this is in video games. So I mean, you can, stuff it, Ryan. Everyone loves Black Fleet Crisis, even though they may not have read it. They love that K-wing bomber, and if they love the K-wing bomber, they gotta love it.
The K-wing bomber, like it played like, I felt like they were talking about it all the time, especially in the beginning of those episodes, because they were so focused on the ships with the overlapping shields and having to penetrate them. But then I feel like we never heard about the K-wing ever again.
We never, no, not in the expanded universe, not that I know of. And it's sad because I like the idea of there being K-wings, L-wings, M-wings, B-wings, C-wings, D-wings. I mean, I'm all for that.
Do you know about the Q-wing from Robot Chicken?
No, I haven't seen that one.
No, I haven't seen it.
Just like in Robot Chicken, Q-wing is basically like flying in circles and crashes into an asteroid field while the pilot is vomiting inside of it. It's like 10 seconds long, but it's awesome. Just check
I think that's in Chuck Wendig's trilogy, right? Or no, that's how you felt after reading it.
Oh yeah, the Aftermath. Yeah,
I can't remember the Aftermath there. But those are just a few vehicles that really, was. I mean, K-wing. Just reading about it, I was interested. So anything wing, I was interested in. I mean, then you have some of your special super Star Destroyers. You have ships that, I mean, the Lady Luck, which has been with Lando forever. Yet we never got to actually see the vehicle I don't believe we saw it in the comic book.
It's in the Jedi Outcast game, actually.
It's in the game. Okay.
Yeah. Kyle Katarn rescues Lando from Nar Shaddaa, and then they fly to the Ken installation in the Lady Luck.
Okay. And that's what I was being told when we were talking about this. I was surprised that these people knew what vehicles I was talking about. And I was like, oh, y'all have read that? They said, no, it's in this game. I was like, oh, okay. So it looks like video games brought in a lot of that, those EU vehicles in there for their various games. And that's how they became bigger hits than ever before.
Yeah, that was part of it. And like, for me, one of the cool things, one of the first games that I got into was X-Wing versus TIE, X-Wing Alliance, those games. And there were so many different starfighters, like the TIE Defender, which you're just like, once you've flown a TIE Defender, why would anyone get into a TIE Fighter ever again? I don't understand. Because it's just a behemoth, massive shields. I think it's got ion cannons, a tractor beam, and lasers. It looks weird, but it's awesome. And of course, they brought that back into canon, Disney canon as well in Rebels. I think that's when they did the TIE Defenders. But yes, so I love getting that different options to play as different starfighters there. One of my favorite ones, speaking about starfighters, I probably talk about this a lot, is the Chiss Clawcraft. When when Jagged Fell gets introduced in New Jedi Order, and they introduced the Clawcraft, they're unique and they're interesting in the way they describe them. They always set it up in every book. Every time, it's not like an X-Wing where everyone knows what that is. People might not know what the Chiss Clawcraft is, so they always describe it in like the first paragraph where it's introduced, the tie ball cockpit with the rotating arms around the sides. So I was always interested in that one.
What about the TIE Predator? I think it's from the Legacy series. The has the TIE Fighter cockpit with only 2 wings on the sides, like elongated ones. That's pretty unique as well in a way.
I love that design from Legacy.
It seems very advanced when you compare it to Zero BBY, the regular TIE Fighters, since it's 130 years later. Smaller, more effective or whatnot. So I enjoy that. But Old Republic is what I love the most, definitely.
Well, what chips do they have in Old Republic, then, Luke, that you really liked?
The Hammerhead Cruiser is probably one of the best, definitely. And the Old Republic era as a whole, I've noticed it's kind of a perfect blend between the original trilogy and the prequels, yet it's something completely new. For example, you have the Ebon Hawk. You've probably heard about it. It's like a Millennium Falcon type ship, only in the Old Republic. And it really has a feel of the Old Republic, yet it's different and new and fresh. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, it's like they take these things and they make it into something that you could reasonably assume would evolve into something that we know, right? So it does seem familiar, but at the same time, it seems like that, technology could lead to, well, now this is the style and this is the way it is. So the Hammerhead Cruisers, for sure, those are iconic from KOTOR, and then, of course, made it into SWOTOR as well. And I think they even brought those in at Disney canon as well. But
they're actually, you can see them in Rogue One, which honestly, I really enjoyed that. It was actually like a smaller version of it, like a Corvette. Like imagine if the cruiser is like 3 kilometers long or something. No, actually about 2, maybe 1.5 kilometers long. Then the Corvette is like 500 meters or something like that. But usually it's the same style, and I really enjoyed that regarding Rogue One, and it's also seen in Rebels as well. And I think that they took the design from SWOTOR, actually. Like KOTOR had the huge cruisers, and then SWOTOR had like the smaller versions of it. It's not really like a cruiser; it's like a Hammerhead mix of a Corvette and a cruiser, like a middle-sized one. It didn't have the pointy ends like the cruiser did. Was more smooth looking. Like 300 years later after KOTOR, they're like kind of advanced in a way, but smaller. That's how it felt, at least.
And I think a lot of the success that comes from the games like Old Republic, all those Old Republic games, is one, the world building that they did. They told great stories there, but also the way they made it look. And like you were talking about with the ships there, a little bit of the old, a little bit of the new, but it's different. And you can see a design, like they have a overall design. Like you can look at that ship and go, that's Old Republic. That's from that era. And that's part of your world building, because of course in video games you have to be visual as well. And so they built unique ships that had a certain feel, like the Ebon Hawk. It's a little bit of the original, but it's Old Republic there. And I think that's one of the things that, adds to the popularity of those games.
Definitely. And the best part about it is the design of it and technology, it feels like it is thousands of years before George Lucas' Star Wars. It really feels like it because of the color choices and the overall design. Even though it has similarities to the Falcon and stuff like that, it really feels old, but awesome at the same time.
And all my knowledge of that is basically the Tales of the Jedi comic books, which I did enjoy. They kind of made them look like, and this is kind of weird, like old sailing ships as well, is what I kind of imagined, with the antennas sticking out where the sail post would usually be. You also, the only thing, and this is off topic of vehicles here, that I did not like. They didn't do it in the Old Republic, and when they had a chance to do it in Dawn of the Jedi, they still didn't do it. That old Ralph McQuarrie drawing of a Jedi with a backpack that powered their sword, I was really hoping they'd incorporate that. And when it didn't come to Old Republic, I was like, oh, but of course, who wants a backpack? Jedi wearing a backpack to power their sword.
Didn't they? Wasn't there a story about that?
It's actually much earlier than Old Republic. It's about 10,000 BBY with the proto sabers.
Well, did Dawn of the Jedi didn't feature them?
No, Dawn of the Jedi, they were still using like the imbued swords or whatever. But I feel like there's whatever the book is where that Sith fleet travels like 6,000 years in the future in the present day. That story, do you know what I'm talking about? I feel like the Jedi that gets transported with them, I felt like he was using one of those backpack lightsabers. Maybe I'm completely off base.
I'm not really.
You mean Cross Current and Riptide?
Yeah. It was probably.
I don't remember him having one of those. I mean, he could have. I just don't remember it. But
I think it was a Harrower class dreadnought that flew, and if I'm not mistaken, it's around Star Wars: The Old Republic MMO. Since it was a Harrower class, if I'm not mistaken, or was it KOTOR? Something like that. I'm not really sure. I got into lightsaber.
I'm not sure, but anyway, I mean that's off the topic of vehicles there. But I was contemplating. That was one of my disappointments with Dawn of the Jedi, and I didn't feel that those ships had. And I mean, it's unfair to judge Dawn of the Jedi since it only had one awful hardback novel and a couple of comic books that just didn't. I mean, John Ostrander is a great writer, one of my favorites. That is my least favorite of his, just because it ended too soon and it didn't have enough time to breathe. I thought it was it was getting interesting, but the truth is, Legacy, the Cade Skywalker story, that hooked me in a lot faster than Dawn of the Jedi did. Dawn of the Jedi, after its run was ending, while its run was going, I still wasn't completely hooked. I was only buying it because it said Star Wars over the title. Remember when we used to buy stuff that said Star Wars on it? That was good old days.
It was, and one of the main problems about it is that today you can see the Star Wars logo everywhere. It's overused. It's nothing special anymore.
No, it's not. It's not as unique, and that's just because of the world we live in, with so many people vying for your attention, for your merchandise, for a purchase. You think you'd want to listen to fans. You think you'd want to hear and give fans what they want, but no, you just do your own thing, and we'll go to someone else who will definitely treat us better. I was reading another thing, kind of off topic here, but since we're on the topic, Chris Nelson sent me a news article about Star Trek. Star Trek still does different universes, different universes in different books and different stories. They are totally fine with people who just like the Prime, which is the old TV show universe. You want that? Sure, we'll still make books like that. Then we'll make stuff for the newer stuff we have right now. We'll do anything, any era, any timeline. You're thinking, wow, it's like Star Trek fans get to, play outside. They get to play on the playground, while Star Wars fans have to be locked down in the house all day on a nice sunshiny day. There's so much opportunity there for the expanded universe. I'm not talking about ripping it off like, an old junkyard, which is basically what the EU is for the new Lucasfilm. It's basically a junkyard. You go in there, you rip off a part. You don't unscrew it. You just take it, tear it off at its hinges, pull, twist, get out a blowtorch, anything to just rip it out as fast as you can, and then give us this mangled version, put it together with some Frankenstein thing and say, are you happy? That's your rear view mirror that you like. That's the carburetor you like. And it's like, no, that's not exactly the version we wanted. Now, I don't deny them doing that. And you keep, Ryan, who is very well educated in what Disney canon keeps telling me about all these vehicles that are over in the new canon, which I did not know. I did not know any of that, Ryan. So seriously, thank you. I didn't know that. But it doesn't surprise me they're taking ideas from the expanded universe. What else is new, right? The whole reason they got rid of it was to be more creative, and their creativity continues to come from the expanded universe.
Well, it's like Luke pointed out. That's what they did before. Like they would, and why not? Because you have all of these authors, all these creative people that have developed and fleshed out these worlds and created these worlds, created these different alien species, created these starships. This incredible base to your galaxy. Why wouldn't you go and pick some of these great ideas out of there? That's what George did. That's what Lucasfilm did for years. But Now it's different because you've said we don't want anything to do with this. Boom, it's done. Separate continuity. It's over. Get back in there. That makes it much more different now.
The worst part about it is that they're shitting on the EU constantly, and yet they take things from the EU. Like, for example, the most famous example is Dark Empire. They hated the Palpatine clones, yet they did it in Episode 9.
Yeah, they did in the movie. They did in the movie.
Every single thing. Rebel has the Outrider, just so you know, but it's actually not an Outrider, it's just a YT 2000.
I totally want to track down every single article that everyone wrote when the EU was canceled, who said that, you know, when I kept looking at the top 5, the top 10 reasons why it's a good thing the EU got canceled. Number one every time was cloned Emperor. Everyone hated that. And even 4 or 6 years later, no one's saying anything about cloned Emperor.
Even Boba Fett surviving the Sarlacc pit was also on the list, I remember, and they did it in. And
then they take things like Jackson the Bunny Rabbit, which, by the way, is in the new comic books as well. So they had him too. Are you sharing something with us, sir?
I'm sharing something, and like, if this isn't, you know, evidence, you know, this is Chris Terrio, who was one of the writers for Rise of Skywalker. I've liked some of his stuff. I've despised some of his stuff. But when you look at, they're sitting there, you know, coming up with ideas. You have Chuck Wendig's Aftermath book right here. Right on top of that is a Legends book. It is a Thrawn book. I'm pretty sure it's Dark Force Rising. But yeah, or maybe The Last Command, possibly, but it's one of the Thrawn books. It's pretty clear that you can see that. So, you know, they happened to use a secret fleet in Rise of Skywalker, didn't they? That sounds a lot like the Katana fleet to me. But, you know, this is like, it's sitting right next to him there. Of course they use these things.
Yeah, they use them all the time. And it like I said, it doesn't surprise me at all. And I don't blame, by the way, I should also mention this. I'm not angry with someone like Fantasy Flight taking these vehicles, taking these characters, building this world, because they had to have something. I actually, once Disney bought the franchise, Fantasy Flight continued to do stuff based in the Legends universe, just because, and they told me this, it was a richer universe. It was more expanded because the new canon didn't have much back then, just Rebels and maybe Force Awakens. That eventually, when they got up enough material, then they started using it. But until then, they went, you know, chest deep into the expanded universe, bringing out all these vehicles, bringing out these planets, the creatures and everything. And it's such a vast and creative world, like you said, starting with West End Games, who basically just created so much of a backstory. George Lucas loved it so much that he would basically give this to authors. That's why a lot of these West End Games vehicles or equipment ideas come from West End Games supplemental stuff, because it was given to every author at first. Back in the day, we know for sure. I don't know how long that continued, but definitely in the Bantam era, each new author was delivered a box of West End Games supplemental material, and it made it easy. If they wanted to, I remember talking to one of the authors, if ever he needed he wanted to get a new fighter or something different, something he hadn't seen before, instead of just saying X-Wing TIE fighter, he'd look it up and say, oh, well, here's one, I'll use this vehicle. And so it was an easy way for them to do some back study and everything. So there's, and EU vehicles have been around practically from Kenner, from the very first toy line. Kenner made some EU vehicles, the Imperial Troop Transport, which got its own comic book. It came with a comic book. It's been reprinted too, which is the crazy thing.
Yeah.
Why would you reprint the Imperial Troop Transport? It's basically just a place where you could hold a bunch of figures in, move them around the vehicle. And it was very lame too, because they were all standing up. But they had crazy things like that. Kenner had all these little mini vehicles that one of them got into one of the Marvel comic books. I guess Marvel saw it and said, hey, let's put that in one of our comic books. There was and I didn't even know this, a buddy of mine who has the entire Kenner collection told me all this, I should say. But they even made these little $5 whatever, or maybe $3. It was the same price as a figure. It was just like a little mini machine. You could put them on a little mini skimmer or something. Well, the cartoon droids saw those from Kenner and said, hey, let's put one of those in one of our cartoons. It's the exact same little sand skimmer and everything. So I mean, toys from the old Kenner line even made it into the expanded universe in forms of comic books or a cartoon. It's one of those things that you keep sharing, you keep seeing more of. And then, of course, fast forward to today, you guys keep telling about all these video games that carry some of my favorite vehicles, which just kind of expands their popularity. So the EU is just more than just, I guess, what we're trying to say is characters and story plots, even though it is a lot of that. But these vehicles too, and I mean, they keep borrowing vehicles. I guess I just wish they'd be more honest and telling us where they got them.
Well, we've talked a lot about like starfighters, and Luke mentioned some like the Hammerhead, some capital ships from the Old Republic era. What about you, Matt? What are your favorite capital ships from the expanded universe?
Oh man. Capital ships.
Well, I'll tell you mine. So my favorite one that really stands out to me was the Anakin Solo. The one that Jason had personally for the Galactic Alliance Guard that he had painted solid black. Yeah. That was basically just a monster Star Destroyer. That was, much wider, much bigger. It had the what were they called? It was the long-range turbo lasers. So they had the long-range turbo lasers that they got from the Hapens. It had gravity well generators. It was basically just completely decked out. Yeah, I loved it.
You're right. That one was a really tricked out one. One that, I mean, you talk about painting all black. You reminded me of the Errant Venture where Booster just painted it's a red Star Destroyer. But for some reason, I just love that. I love that there's a red Star Destroyer. It's like let's paint my car flashy red, man. I mean, I want lightning bolts on the back, on the sides and everything. And that just made that it's just a regular Star Destroyer, right?
Well, it's I don't know if it's a Star Destroyer.
I mean, Booster added little things to it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, it was just a red Star Destroyer, but it was really, it's notable.
You remember they made him take almost all the weaponry off it, right? Because he had to demilitarize it effectively, right. Which means he could only have like 10 turbo lasers or something like that, right? And then, of course, slowly he added those back on.
Yeah.
What about the Yuuzhan Vong Chorus ship, the 300-kilometer one?
Oh yeah, like they're basically world ships and everything, right?
Yeah.
I think that is the biggest vehicle in all of Star Wars, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know anything.
If you want to just leave it there instead of talking about, I mean, there are some super weapons, like Centerpoint Station could technically move if it wanted to, which is huge, which I guess makes it a vehicle. But yeah, no, probably that one would be because World Devastators weren't as big, but were nice. Dark Saber.
Eye of Palpatine was really big, wasn't it?
I believe so. It was a bigger ship.
See how long it is.
Yeah, getting the sizes down for all that. There are some big ships out there. That was obviously. I'll be honest. The Sun Crusher a little too powerful. Couldn't be taken apart. Couldn't be killed. Couldn't be destroyed. I guess you could.
You don't like Kevin J. Anderson's Sun Crusher?
That's his big one. Yeah.
You don't like that one?
I thought it was a little too much. A little too much, I will say, as super weapons go. But he was right. He got a lot of hate, but he said, "Hey guys, that's what the Empire is about. Is the next biggest super weapon." And actually, he turned out to be exactly right. If you look at the new movies too, because everyone. That's another thing. People made fun of the EU because of all their super weapons. Yet the very first movie, they come out with a Star Killer, which is like what 50 times bigger than the Death Star. I don't know how big was it compared to the Death Star, and more dangerous.
Yeah. Well, and even in Rise of Skywalker, what was all right? Well, let's just put a super laser on literally every Star Destroyer. So it was just
I mean, that's what the Empire is about. But that was one of the things that tons of articles said. This is why the EU sucks, because all they could do was think about more super weapons. Oh well, then
you have about 500 Death Stars.
Yeah. Well, you have the Star Killer, which is the biggest thing ever. If that was ever an EU idea, they would have laughed at that. They said, "Oh, that's terrible. That's a terrible idea."
That was extremely stupid. Taking the power of the sun to power it. Honestly. What happens when you run out of suns?
You move it, I guess. And everything freezes.
It's actually Ilum. I think they made it into Ilum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's a planet, and stupid.
All right. Any other vehicles?
Eclipse Star Destroyer. Always love that one.
Mention.
Very unique design, especially because of the front part of it. It's reminiscent of the Hammerhead in a way, yet the hammer is much larger and it's black. I always like the idea of it being black.
It kind of reminds me of like a battering ram or whatever on a ship, like an old ship. Obviously, it wouldn't really work that way, but yeah, the like elongated as it comes to the front.
Right.
I always thought that was cool, and that's an absolute monster ship as well.
Yeah, and then moving from monster ships to just personalized ships, you had things like the Moldy Crow, Kyle Katarn's Moldy Crow. You had Rogue Shadow, Starkiller ship from Force Unleashed. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Raven's Claw as well. It's like the Moldy Crow is like the predecessor of it, I think.
Right. That was his second vehicle, right?
Yeah, after he crashed in Dark.
Yeah, and so they try to give them their own personality there. I know the names and everything. I don't know if Kyle Katarn's ever talked about flying in the Moldy Crow in the expanded universe besides the Dark Forces books. Is that mentioned? Not Moldy Crow, but Raven's Claw. Excuse me.
Kyle doesn't get enough time in the EU. Kyle Katarn, he just hangs around. He's like, oh, he's the Jedi Battle Master. He has one awesome face-off with Jason Solo, but other than that, he's just like a dude, which I wish he wasn't. I wish he'd really gotten fleshed out more.
Actually, he has only one comic book appearance in the Yuuzhan Vong War. And I really wish he had more. I'm actually working on a large video for Kyle Katarn.
Star Wars Tales created a nice little story. Kind of gave you a little update on what's going on in his life, and that was Nathan Butler, who I talked to about that. I know Nathan. He had been asked to write a story for Tales, and he said, "Can I do anything?" They said, "Yes." We love the New Jedi Order. He loved Kyle Katarn. He wanted a story with Kyle Katarn and the New Jedi Order, and they let him do it. And I thought it was done really well. I thought the artwork was done well. He was happy how it turned out. And I'll be honest, it's what every fan would have wanted. I remember even before I knew who he was, I read that story and went, wow, I can't believe they're doing a New Jedi Order, tale, which is very interesting to me. Plus, it's about Kyle Katarn too, which is a very interesting Jedi I want to hear more about. I just couldn't believe that Star Wars Tales would do that. But then come to realize, oh, wait, that was from a fan who read the books and wanted to do the story. Should have known, right? Would have loved more about that. Now, with it comes to ground vehicles, there's not really any EU ground vehicles that I can think of besides Marvel comic books came up with some early renditions of an ATST in it, but I don't know if there's any ground vehicles to speak of. Is there a ground vehicle I'm missing?
There definitely is, if you ask me.
What's that?
For example, the first one that came to mind, I think, it's based after the Return of the Jedi, are the Imperial versions of the Clone Turbo Tank, the tan ones, if you guys remember those, for example.
No, what were those in?
Oh, I can't remember. I think it was maybe Star Wars Tales. I don't know which issue.
Oh, okay.
Like a standalone thing, but I'm not really sure regarding that. But then you have the all-terrain defense pod, for example. ATDP. Okay. Or actually, I think in the EU it has a different name because they took it and put it into Star Wars Rebels. I'll just check. The Headhunter or something okay. I'm not really sure.
We had, I know they had a TIE crawler.
Yeah.
a TIE with tank treads.
They had that, they actually had that in Empire at War as well, I believe. I think Empire at War, they had it, the TIE crawler, one of the video games. Matt knows nothing about, but go ahead.
Well, aren't they the ones that wrote the Invasion of Kashyyyk storyline in their how-to guide? Isn't that Empire at War? And their instructions, they have a short story. It's a great short story about Imperials just disappearing screaming into the forest in the darkness of the forest because the Wookiees are basically taking them. And it's guerrilla warfare as they try to take over the planet Kashyyyk. It's the invasion, the first Imperial invasion of Kashyyyk is explained, I believe, in the instruction manual, which is why I bought it. I think it's Empires at War. But it has a fantastic little story in there. I bought that one, the X-Wing, the TIE Fighter manuals, because they read like they give you a mission and basically the how to walk through this mission. And then between is a little bit of a story. They wrote those like a big book, which was totally, I could not believe that, and got both of them and read it. And even Alliance, if I'm not mistaken, had its own little instruction manual that kind of read like a book, because I have all of those in my collection there. I started reading those after Disney had bought the franchise, because I'd always known, I'd heard there was a story, and I said, well, I'll get it later.
Are there any ships that you would like to see that you haven't seen? Oh yeah.
So what is this one?
This is the Star Wars: The Old Republic Manka class armored transport. What does it look like to you guys?
Well,
reminiscent of the AT and the AT in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really enjoyed that one, for example. It's nice.
That's a good one. I like that one. More vehicles I wanted to see. I mean, for me, I'm not
that you would never. Sorry, I guess maybe I phrased that wrong. A vehicle that was only ever described that you never got to see visualized. If that makes sense.
3.
What?
The Slave 3. Boba Fett.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Because we got to see the Slave 4 is basically just the Slave 1. The Slave 2 was in Dark Empire. Slave 3, we know there had to be one, but we don't know what it was. I'll be honest. I'm gonna copy Luke's answer. That's a great answer.
Yeah, Slave 2 was one of the ugliest ships in history. He should never even driven it.
I'm glad they made it different, but I agree it's a very boring little ship.
Mm-hmm.
I actually liked it too. It seemed very weird because when I was growing up, I saw it, and for some reason, it's kind of nostalgic to me. The ship. I actually thought that was Boba Fett's ship when I was a kid.
Shut up, really?
I actually thought too, because I saw someone made it from Lego, and I was into Lego since 2000s when I was 4 years old, and I actually thought that was Boba Fett's main ship at that time. Until I finally watched actual Star Wars.
Yeah, to be honest, I was never a fan of the Slave 1 growing up. I had it, and I thought it was stupid that it pointed facing forward, because I always thought it should be turned up like a turkey and flown that way instead of him just standing there flying through space in front of us. Like, that's so stupid. Why would they do that? I get it now, but
it's a unique, it is definitely a unique ship. Like that,
Is there a ship that you wanted described more, Ryan?
I guess I would always, whenever they try to describe these things, I would always try to visualize it in my mind. Like, do you remember Legacy of the Force, where Han and Wedge fly those? It's like YT-50-100, maybe, these like prototype, the newest thing from CEC.
Yeah,
the Shriek. They're called like the Shriek class or something.
I couldn't remember what they were called, but I do remember that.
Yeah, and like things like that. I wish we would get to see those, or the
Did we get to see?
Go ahead.
No, were you going to say Stealth X?
Yeah, that was I was going to talk about that. The Stealth X, I don't know if we've ever actually seen a representation of those. I imagine they're just black, just black X-Wings, but I don't know.
Yeah. Stealth X was very popular too.
Yeah, they used them all the time because they started, especially in the later half of New Jedi Order and on, the Jedi became so militarized. And so, they became such an important part in so many different wars. And they developed the shadow bomb technique and everything. It just became part of it. And the stealth X's were I feel like they described it as black with almost like stars, like a star field painting on it in a way so that it would blend in with a blank star field. But and I also think it was supposed to be very unlike the regular one. I think there were edges everywhere and different surfaces so that radar couldn't. So like traditional ways that they would sense things, it wouldn't work in the same way that we have ships that do that in real life, you know, whether it's boats or whether it's aircraft. Yeah.
Stealth X would be a good one for me too. I'd love to see that one too. That's a very popular one. Luke, you have something else pulled up. What are we looking at here?
This is from Star Wars Legacy, Darth Krayt's Sith Empire. This is a walker from there. You can barely see it on maybe 2 pages. I'm working on a video. I want to cover every single AT walker type in Star Wars. So I'm just going to go through some of them now.
Sure.
Just have to find it. Have you guys heard about the AHT walker, for example?
No, show me. This is interesting. See, this is something I just don't know that much about.
Scroll here. I have a huge list of these. Just gonna find a few of them. Let's see what's. For example, here it is from Star Wars Legacy.
Oh wow!
Can you see it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can see it fine.
Because I've been trying to find everything I can about it.
What are the ties that basically look like Clawcraft?
Yeah,
I'm not sure about that. I don't know.
That's what they look like, though. They look like a different iteration of the Clawcraft. Yeah.
And let's see what else.
Which with Emperor Fail, they probably included that chest technology in there. They probably merged it.
Yeah.
It's also
probably done on purpose.
Then.
See, there you go. That's the one I was talking about. Is that the PT, ATPT?
The AT. This is the AT.
No, the one from the Marvel comic books. That one.
I'm not really sure, but that's the ATDP that I was talking about. They renamed it for canon in a way, but it's the same thing basically. I'm not really sure what it's called. It's gonna have to. Yeah, you have these, the Clone Wars era AT-AT.
The skinny legs.
I'm trying to find this one. This is from Darth Krayt's Sith Empire, the AT-AHT walker. This is like the only image there is about it.
Oh wow! I was gonna say I've never seen that before.
Yeah, I've been really researching it, and there's nothing about it except that it's heavily armored. And I actually think that they took this image maybe and used it for the First Order's Guerrilla Walker or whatever. It's kind of reminds me of it because of the upper cannon that it has above it on the home.
I'm definitely interested in when you do this review on this because this is kind of stuff like the ground vehicles I don't know as much from, but I'm really interested in that.
Yeah, this one.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that this one was really cool. That's all.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we have these. For example.
These are like the pilotless, like a drone, basically, like a walker drone. I can't remember what they're called. I'm just.
What is it? What is this from?
I'm not really sure. I'm gonna have to check on that. So,
don't be showing new canon stuff on my channel, please, Luke. I'm kidding.
Here it is. This is a new canon one. Let's see what else. I don't know what else I have here. I've just edited all the images for the video. For example, this.
Nice.
Huh. See, the terrain vehicles, I don't think that much about when I think about. I mean, I know they made them. I'm happy that there's so many of these around because there's a lot of ground battles, but you just don't get to hear that many of them. And in the books, to be honest, when the Empire, anytime the Empire was doing a ground invasion, you'd hear about the AT-ATs. Obviously, those are iconic, but you didn't really get to hear about that much else.
And Yep.
As it comes to alien vehicles, the only one that's really that memorable is the Vong, the coral skimmers, and the world ships and stuff like that. Everything else that they came out with, I mean, like the thrust ships by the from the Black Fleet Crisis, since I keep talking about my favorite and Ryan's favorite trilogy. Those were unique. You had, but not as memorable. And then I can't remember, what did the what's their name?
What about the Haven? What about like the Battle Dragon?
Oh, the Haven Battle Dragon. Now that was very popular. Those kept coming in and out of the expanded universe. Haven Battle Dragon. They looked like these big sail barges, didn't they?
I mean,
oh no, sorry.
Once you got to the point of like the Hapens became, again, New Jedi Order was a turning point for a lot of things. Hapens became so important to the military balance in the galaxy because they were trying to draw them in on their side of the war against the Yuzong Vong. And like after that point, and of course, once Tenno Ka took over, you just saw the Hapens were always involved in everything. Right.
No, that was a big one. That's definitely a big one. Haven Battle Dragons are big. I mean, then you got stuff that you got dreadnoughts, you got the Indictor cruisers from Timothy Zahn. One you had that became, popular in the expanded universe. I'm trying to think of other ships like that just kind of.
What about Italian class Star Destroyers, for example? I really like one of those.
Yeah, Italian class,
heavily armored, has a really good look of it. It looks like a tank in space, in a way.
That's a good way to describe it.
What about the Galactic Alliance starfighters?
I don't remember what they would look like. Did they actually show pictures of those?
Oh, yeah, quite a bit. I'm just going to search it up.
Yeah, bring up a picture of the Galactic Alliance ones. I remember reading about them. When it came to the bigger ships, I'll be honest, my imagination didn't really take over, or curiosity didn't take over to look into it.
It's just, you're just like, big ship, yeah.
Well, when they talk about a big fighter, I mean, a new fighter, I'm like, okay, what does this look like? What are we looking at? What are we seeing here? Because the fighters are the thing that I really got excited to see what new fighters were out. And as vehicles went, that's what really interested me. I mean, yeah, you talk about the Anakin Solo. Yeah, it's a tricked out super Star Destroyer that has all the bells and whistles on it. A fully loaded super Star Destroyer, which I thought was really cool. And then plus, like I said, you talk about the painting it black. That's what brings it out in my memory a lot more than any other ship would, like Errant Venture. If he hadn't painted it red, Booster Terrex Star Destroyer, okay, it looks normal. Yeah, has some few modifications on it. Oh, by the way, he painted that sucker red. That's really neat. I like that. Not that you have to just paint a regular vehicle different color for me to like it, just to have it stand out in your mind. I think there's one where Wedge gets rescued by the Errant Venture and doesn't know at first. They just see there's a ship on the scale, and it looks like a Star Destroyer, but then he sees the color red and goes, oh, never mind. Chill down. I know who that is. But a lot of interesting stuff there. All right. Anything else before we wrap up, guys?
I found a few more. I have a huge collection I have about 6,000 images from Star Wars, like the art used for everything, because I use it for editing,
Yeah.
I have photos for each and every faction era of Star Wars and stuff like that. So I found you the Galactic Alliance.
Let's look at the Galactic Alliance here, man. I picked the right guy for this topic.
Okay, here it is.
All right. Okay, I seem to remember those. The cross shape. What are those things called?
I think they're the Crossfire.
Crossfires. That's what they were. Yeah, I do remember seeing those. The other ones I don't remember ever seeing. It's a good image.
And I'm just gonna exit this one and find another. I have a few more. You just have to find it. What about the Nebulan class Star Destroyers from the New Republic?
Sure. If you got a picture, show. I'm interested to see. Like I said, some of the bigger ones I never really took that much of my imagination to see what they're. Oh, okay, yes, I do remember this. I do remember this too.
They actually called one of them the Kenobi, like for like the legacy of Obi-Wan, the New Republic.
streamlined, a smooth, newer version of a Star Destroyer looks like, without the tower.
Yeah. Then I have a few more things. Here's another image for it. This is basically like my New Republic Galactic Alliance folder with.
See, that artwork right there reminds me of old school West End games.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. I love it every time I see it. That's the E-Wing.
Oh, yeah.
Love the idea of the E-Wing. What is that?
I think this is like a fan art version of the New Republic bomber, Y-Wing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And we have Corn Horns one.
I was just going to say it's got to be Corn Horns.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to search. I have a lot of images here, so just want to find the...
That's the Jade Shadow?
Is it
Yeah,
Saber?
I think it is.
Okay. Shadow, the Shadow, okay. See, Mara Jade had the Shadow, the Fire, and the Saber. And to be honest, the Jade's Fire is the one that I remember the most. That was a Bantam era one.
Yeah, well, you know, when a woman goes through that many starships, you should probably stop letting her drive. That's what I say.
I think Jason took away her keys.
Yeah.
There's the V-Wing airspeeder. Those are, yeah.
Have some here, like the Z95 Headhunters, for example.
Oh, yeah. Z95 Headhunters have been around forever. That's another great one. Never seen that image before. That's a great image.
What about this? Assault
That's
frigate.
I was gonna say it looks like it looks like a variation of the Nebulon B.
Yeah, I think it's like an updated, like a newer version, new generation of it.
I don't know. Is anyone here West End Games familiar, scholarly and West End Games?
You're old.
Okay, thank you for that. The Far Star from the Dark Strider campaign was always one of my favorites, even though it's just a regular, what was it called, Kriegan Corvette. It had some modifications, and I used to look at the cross sections on that. What was that? What's that one right there we're looking at?
Well, it is cloak shape. I'm not really sure. I think it's like an airspeeder of some sort. I'm not really sure. It's the same thing as this one here. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, aren't the V-Wing, the New Republic V-Wings similar to that? They're
the V-Wing airspeeder. And when I say V-Wing, I automatically think Dark Empire. It was only later that I realized V-Wings were, of course, in episode 3. They were bigger. There's a Haven battle cruiser there. Mm-hmm. Which is, I like it because it's very unique. And you should, I mean, we've already mentioned Legacy had some very popular, you had the Minoc, which is what Cade Skywalker flew around in, and the X-23 Twin Tails were some of the vehicles from the Legacy era. And it was really cool. Just like the Old Republic has very unique ships, I thought they did a really great job in the comic book, Legacy comic book, giving us this new world. Because I don't even know, I remember reading an article just a few weeks ago, an old article about Legacy when it was coming out and how the fans were split on it. Some fans loved the idea. Some fans vehemently hated the idea because they thought it was going to break canon. That was me. And they used to go on the forums and say, no, guys, don't worry. We've cleared this with something you never see now. They talk to the fans and say, no, guys, look, we're talking to Del Rey. We're on the same page. We want to make sure everything fits in continuity for you. Everything's going to be okay. And to be honest, I was the biggest opponent of Legacy coming out. And then I bought the comic book because it's Star Wars anyway, but I was not going to like it, I knew. And then after just a few issues, I was hooked. I was hooked on the look and feel and everything. I mean, I bought into it over a while. Didn't take me long. They did a really great job. Delilah being a Zeltron was a big plus at the beginning too, because why would you put a Zeltron? That was the first time, I think, outside of the comic books, the old Marvel comic books, I'd ever seen a Zeltron. I was like, whoa, they brought Zeltrons in here. And automatically my continuity meter just rose. It's like, I'm going to give this a shot.
Have you guys heard about the character Belderek, Red Eye? Like the chess bartender?
Yeah.
Basically, his backstory is he was on Zeltros with females, and he's like, nothing compares to the pheromones of the female Zeltrons, not even the four, stuff like that. I did a story about it, a really interesting backstory, small, but
It's nice that they kind of brought those back in, but there's a lot of other silly other creatures from the Marvel universe. I really wish they would have tried to do again, because you look at Zeltrons back in the day, thinking it's just a pink human who just loves to make love. Okay, what's new and interesting about them? But Delilah she's a great character, and there's the Twin Tail X-23 Twin Tail, something looking a little bit different.
Yeah. Those Galactic Alliance, right? Or
yes, that was from Legacy. That's from the Legacy era, if I'm not mistaken. So,
yeah.
This is interesting stuff.
Jaden Core's Z95 Headhunter.
And I was always a fan of the Z95 Headhunter. I was like, yeah, that's much better than an X-Wing, I thought, just about the look on it. What is that?
I don't know. Jump Starfighter. I just have a lot of images because I like it, but I was thinking maybe you guys know some of these. What about this?
That's familiar to me.
It's familiar, but I don't know where it would be from. So interesting. See, and like I said, such a broad topic here that we have here of different things, and we're just talking about vehicles here, folks. I'm gonna stop right now, sharing, Luke.
Yep, no problem.
We're gonna wrap it up here, but I wanted to say first off, let us know in the comments what your favorite vehicles are, and make sure to go on the expandinguniverse.com today. Give your votes out. A lot of these vehicles we talked about, not all of them, sadly, but a lot of them are up there for voting in the polls. Polls are open one day, then Dylan and I come in with a show where we give you the results, just kind of like we did last year. It's going to be a lot of fun. So you can go up there, you can download the Excel spreadsheet, you can make your picks, and of course you can vote. I want to thank both of my guests for being on. Luke, Scoundrels Cantina, man, you were invaluable to this conversation. Thank you so much for coming on and having all these images prepared. I had no idea you had all these files. I should have known because you've done multiple videos on this type of stuff, but that was great. Thank you so much.
No problem. Honestly, I wasn't really prepared. It just came to me that I could simply show off those things because I have a lot of them. As I said, 6,000 images of Star Wars overall. We're in about 500 photos, so why not?
Yeah. And guys, if you want to see more, if you're not already a big fan of Scoundrels Cantina, you definitely want to check them out. They have a lot of great stuff and some upcoming stuff if you're very interested in vehicles, especially those ground transport troops and tanks and everything. They're going to be doing videos on that too, so go ahead, check them out as well. Luke, you also, just prior to us going live, you said you had a second channel. Can you go ahead and promote that as well?
Second channel is about World of Warcraft lore, Lord of the Rings lore, and sometimes even Pirates of the Caribbean lore. It's basically a passion project channel, and I make alternative Lego videos there. I mean, the main channel is about Star Wars and the Lego Star Wars. The other one is about everything else. Medieval stuff, Crusader helms, whatever, swords. You know how it goes.
Being a big Lord of the Rings fan, I'm very interested to see what you got on that. Ryan, I mean, what are you up to now on subscribers?
57,000 today, but you can come over there, check me out if you want.
Every month it's like 12,000 more from the last time I asked.
It just depends. It's peaks and valleys, but yeah, it's going good right now. 57,000 on my main channel. I've got a second channel where I talk a little more DC focused stuff right now, and I upload my live streams.
Go ahead, plug those other two channels you have.
Yeah, the other one's called RK Outpost Live. I just started a gaming channel. I'm going to be talking about specifically gaming-related content, putting up some Twitch streams and things like that on there as well. That's called RK Outpost Gaming. Getting really creative with these names, but yeah,
branding, baby, branding.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, you can check me out. Basically, anything Geeks and Gamers related, I'm usually associated with it in some way, shape, or form. But thanks for having me, Matt. Yeah,
he's also on Sports Wars as well. A lot of times, Ryan and I off camera are talking sports, mainly baseball, because that's really the only one I care about right now. But maybe you need to start doing one on your big, giant collection of autographs.
I could do that, yeah.
I would have
to unpack everything, though.
I'm telling you, I told my brother about that just the other day.
We only scratched the surface.
I bet. But anyway, so thank you again, both of my guests. Everyone else, thanks again for watching. We will see you later. And again, don't forget, go on expandinguniverse.com if you want to vote for your favorite vehicle